From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Kayode Okekiolu.
Tonight, PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar promises to reactivate the Ajaokuta Steel Company if elected president, as it takes his campaign to Kogi State. Release Nnamdi Kanu to me, Governor Soludo appeals to the federal government during the presidential campaign flag-off of the All Progressive Grand Alliance in Awka. APGA flag bearer Professor Peter Omadi lists his priorities. 3 persons reportedly killed in an attack on the country home of a spokesperson of the Coalition of United Political Parties, Ikenga Ogochinyere, in Imo State. And outrage and condemnation as British-Iranian man Alireza Akbari is executed following his conviction on spying charges.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's economy projected to slow from 3 to 2.7% this year amid oil production decline, insecurity, high inflation, and that's according to latest forecast by leading data and analytics company Global Data.
On sports news tonight, Chelsea FC agree a €100 million deal with Shakhtar Donetsk for the winger Mikhailo Mudryk in a dramatic hijacking of Arsenal's bid.
It's 41 days to the presidential election, and the candidates of the various political parties are revving up their campaigns ahead of a crucial contest. We begin with the campaign train of the People's Democratic Party, which made a stopover in Kogi State today, where its presidential candidate, Mr. Atiku Abubakar, promised to reactivate the Ajaokuta Steel Company. But during the rally in Lokoja, the state capital, Mr. Abubakar also promised that the federal government under him will support the state government to clear all salary arrears owed civil servants in the state. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Mr. Atiku Abubakar is in Lokoja, the Kogi state capital, in continuation of his campaign ahead of the 2023 general elections. Supporters of the PDP gather at the Lokoja Confluence Stadium to cheer Mr. Abubakar. The campaign team has the vice presidential candidate, Governor Ifeanyi Okoh of Delta State, Governor Udom Emmanuel of Akwa Ibom State, Governor Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State, Governor Darius Ishaku of Taraba State, the national chairman of the PDP, Mr. Iyorchia Ayu, former governors and lawmakers, as well as PDP candidates in the state, including the Kogi Central Senatorial District candidate, Mrs. Natasha Akpoti, whose message centers on the need to empower women and children.
I say today that when a woman stands up for herself, knowingly, consciously, intentionally, she stands up for every woman, she stands up for every man, she stands up for every child. So I today stand up for everyone born of a woman.
The party expresses its readiness to hit the ground running to address pertinent challenges confronting the people in the state.
With Atiku, he will link Kogi with so many other parts of Nigeria because of the central nature of Kogi State. He has promised he will concentrate on major road networks. Once you build infrastructure, it will be very easy to develop Kogi more than this.
Nigeria is so divided today. That is not the Nigeria of our dream. Neither is it the Nigeria of our choice. We have to change it together, and we must work together to deliver the votes.
When the time comes when PDP takes over, you will see exactly what we are capable of doing. I want every one of you to get his PVC, because without your PVC, this rally will not be useful.
The leadership of the party received some decampees, including the former deputy governor to Governor Yahaya Bello, Mr. Simon Achuba, and a senior aide to the governor, Mr. Yahaya Karaku. party rejoices over the addition. Mr. Abubakar's message centers on restoring key infrastructures in Kogi State and ensuring better welfare for the people.
I want to confirm here that if you give us the support and you elect a PDP government, the nightmare of Ajakuta will be a thing of the past. I assure you this, and it is a promise I have made on behalf of PDP. Let me also assure you that if you vote for PDP, there will be no more salary arrears in Kogi State.
This is the first outing by Mr. Abubakar after his return from the United Kingdom, and is optimistic that the people of Kogi State will give him their support during the presidential election in February. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
For the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, next month's election is one that Nigerians cannot afford to toy with, as the future of the country depends on it. Against that backdrop, Mr. Peter Obi is promising to adequately address the security and economic challenges facing the country if voted into office. He made this vow while addressing the gathering at the party's campaign in Akure, the Ondo State capital.
The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, and his running mate, Dati Baba Ahmed, as well as other officials of the party, are at the Akure City Hall for the party's campaign in Ondo State. Mr. Obi laments the current situation in the country as regards the security and the economy. He also promises to address the crisis in the education sector to create wealth and job opportunities for the young people. He urged the electorate not to vote according to tribal or religious sentiments.
Anything we want here, we don't hear before. What we want to do in Labour Party, you live today in Ondo, in Ondo State today, like in Nigeria, the entire Nigeria is insecure. People are living in fear. We want to secure and unite Nigeria. We want to make Nigerians to stop suffering by creating and moving Nigeria from consumption to production. When we do that, no Nigerian again will leave his community because of banditry. No Nigerian will leave his community because of banditry. We will secure this country.
Speaking earlier, the national chairman of the Labour Party, Barrister Julius Aburi, affirmed that the party's candidate is the most capable to provide quality leadership for Nigeria.
He has the character, he has the image, he has the competence, he has what it takes to change the political dynamics of Nigeria.
The Director General of the Obi Dati Campaign Organization in the Southwest, who is an indigene of Ondo State, insists that it's the turn of the Southeast to produce the President of Nigeria.
I'm not running on ethnic basis. I'm not. Yes, but we know as a federal, we are the first group in Nigeria to say it is the turn of the Southeast.
As the 2023 presidential elections draw near, the party encourages the electorate to perform their civic responsibility by collecting their permanent voter cards and voting on the day of elections.
More on the presidential campaigns. This time, the flag bearer of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, Professor Peter Omadi, is asking Nigerians to vote for him based on his policies, which he says are feasible. Addressing party supporters in Awka, the Anambra state capital, Professor Omadi says that he is putting himself forward because he has the requisite experience and a manifesto that can help him turn around the fortunes of Nigeria. Also at the campaign, APGA national leader and governor of the state, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, appealed to the federal government to release the detained leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, to him so he can contribute to peace efforts in the southeast region.
Members
Members of the All Progressives Grand Alliance from the 36 states of the Federation gather at the Dr. Alex Ekweme Square in Awka, the Anambra state capital, for the formal flag-off of the party's campaign for the 2023 general elections and the arrival of the national leader of the party and other officials kickstarts the event. The national chairman of APGA addresses the gathering, reminding them of the task ahead as elections draw near.
APGA, Anambra is the homeland of APGA. It is not contestable. APGA has come to stay. APGA will outlive all of us.
Immediate past governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, and the chairman of the National Campaign Council, Abubakar Adamu, asked members not to relent until APGA coasts to victory.
Don't forget that we won 21 over 21, true of us. And we won 19 over 21, true of us. And we are going to win 21 over 21 again.
APGA is the only progressive party. So I want all Nigerians to know, if you are progressive, try join APGA as quickly as possible. APGA! APGA!
One after the other, party flags are handed to all candidates contesting elections on APGA's platform, after which the party's presidential candidate presents his manifesto.
I have a doable manifesto that will deal with true federalism, education, sports and culture, health care delivery, women, youth, children and disabled.
For the governor of Anambra State and national leader of APGA, securing the southeast is critical, and he appeals to the federal government to release the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, in order to solve the security conundrum in the region.
I'm calling on the federal government to please release Nnamdi Kanu. We are calling on him to release Nnamdi Kanu. We need him around the table because we believe that we now want to have a comprehensive heart-to-heart conversation about the future of the Southeast.
With his request receiving a massive applause from the people, APGA faithful dispersed from the arena, having been emboldened with messages of hope from their leaders that the party can indeed march to victory, beginning with the presidential election on February 25th, 2023.
In Ogun State, the Social Democratic Party has flagged off its presidential and governorship campaigns with a promise to provide a better alternative for socio-economic development of the country. At the event held in Abeokuta, the state capital, the presidential candidate of the party, Mr. Adewale Adebayo, describes the SDP as the party to beat in the coming elections, while hinting at a possible merger with the New Nigeria People's Party, however ruled out any such arrangement with the APC or the PDP.
We will never work with APC or PDP because nobody who loves Nigeria at this time will want those people, the way they look confused, to come back at all. And the way APC is a confused party, and I'm not saying it as an insult, they are confused because they are in power. They are saying they are going to change government when they are in power. PDP will never repent because it doesn't matter. God doesn't mind sinners. But it's the job of a sinner is to repent. If you are in government for 16 years and you have been out of power, federal power, for 8 years, and you are still as thuggish as before, as fraudulent as before, as deceptive as before, as comical as before, then you can never change. So it's best for Nigerians. I will go to bed very happy. If I don't win, if PDP and APC are out of power, it will be a happy day for me.
In part two, after the break, main speaker at the Nigerian Economic Outlook 2023, organized by RCCG King's Court in Lagos, says the next administration must make tough decisions to reshape the nation's economy as he warns Nigerians to prepare for a year of economic imbalance. So that's in a moment. Do stay with us.
This is what they call 21st century. When my customer say I want to use POS, I will just bring out my phone, open the application, use this, press this code. I don't have anyone that using POS anymore.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television. A reminder of our main stories. PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar promises to reactivate the Ajaokuta Steel Company if elected president, as he takes his campaign to Kogi State. Release Nnamdi Kanu to me. Governor Soludo appeals to the federal government during the presidential campaign flag-off of the All Progressives Grand Alliance in Awka. APGA flag bearer Professor Peter Amadi lists his priorities. 3 persons reportedly killed in an attack on the country home of the spokesperson of a coalition of united political parties, Ikenga Ogochiere, in Imo State. An outrage and condemnation as British-Iranian man Alireza Akbari is executed following his conviction on spying charges. And as to the governorship campaigns, security, agriculture and infrastructure development formed the campaign thrust of Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State as he flagged off his ward-to-ward campaign in Gamawa local government area of the state. The governor is seeking a second term in office after defeating an incumbent in 2019. Our correspondent Hajara Aliyu reports.
Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State is in Gamawa local government area in the northern part of the state to flag off his campaign for a second term in office. He did not secure majority of the votes in this local government in 2019, and this time his team is determined to get their buy-in.
We are presenting our governorship candidate to you, and we want you to vote for him based on his achievements. Gamawa has benefited so much from infrastructure development and human capacity building from this administration.
Governor Mohammed lays down his plans for the people. The governor presents flags to the various PDP candidates in the region.
We all know that our presidential candidate is capable of fighting poverty. We have all emancipated due to hunger and thirst. We need to caution ourselves by voting all PDP candidates from top to bottom.
The campaign train moves to Zaki local government area, still in Bauchi North, the home base of his running mate, Honorable Awal Jato. They were well received as they canvassed for votes. The team also visited the district heads' palace, seeking for their support and prayers. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the APC governorship candidate in the state, retired Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, is making a case for improving social infrastructure as a way of addressing insecurity in the country at large. The former chief of the air staff believes health and education are critical to addressing insecurity, especially in the northeast. Air Marshal Abubakar, who was speaking during a dinner in his honor in Abuja, says he plans to address these critical areas if he emerges victorious in the March 11th election.
Security has so many dimensions, one of which is what most people refer to, that's the physical security. But you have the social and economic dimensions of security, which has to do with all these issues that I raised the issue of going to school, opportunities for people to go to school, opportunities for people to have access to good health, opportunities for people to go into agricultural production, make some money. So as soon as you tackle some of these issues, you find that it will impact positively on security. Of course, the physical security aspect is something that we are going to work together with security agencies, both the armed forces of Nigeria, the police, the civil defense, everybody will be involved. And once we do that, I can assure you that the narratives in Bauchi will change. In the agricultural sector, the production is so abysmal. So what we want to do is to re-engineer the entire process so that production will go up. And once it goes up, the impact of agricultural activity on the economy, small-scale industries at the local government level. These are programs that are going to boost the economy of Bauchi State, and in that way help in ensuring that there's security in the state, because the relationship between security and development.
Also, internal party politics now. Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike says the resignation of a former Minister of Health and a member of the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party, Professor A.B.C. Nwosu, from the party has further vindicated the G5 governors who are demanding equity, fairness and justice in the system. Governor Wike followed with a warning that if the party remains unyielding in zoning the office of the national chairman to the south, he should also be willing to face the repercussion. The River State Governor made the remarks when stakeholders of the Ogun community, the local government area, paid a solidarity visit to him at the government house in Port Harcourt today.
What I said, and I got not to say, all of us are from this country. Nobody is a second-class citizen. We all agreed this is how our party would be. Recently, Professor A.B.C. Nwosu resigned from the party, that his conscience has not allowed him, that the constitution of the party is clear. If you take this, these people will take this. Why now have you said we won't do it again? Now when people are saying, look, there's nothing, you have taken this, but let these people take this. You say you will take all. But if you take all, you will also face the repercussion. After all, we voted PDP since 1999, is it not correct? In terms of logistics, nobody supported PDP more than Rivers State since 1999 under Dr. Peter Odili. Yes, it's true. Down to Amechi, yes. We gave the highest vote to Jonathan, it's true. But as a minister, even as a governor, nobody has supported PDP the way Rivers State has supported PDP. But everybody saw the fight against Rivers State by the federal government. Young women came out to defend our votes. You stood firm to defend our votes. In all that period, nobody in any PDP state, not one of the leaders, ever called us to say, look, we have seen what people are facing. We support you in our prayer. We sympathize with you. Nobody. All through the vote, when Odili was there, down to when Amechi was down to when. Tell me one thing we got.
More stories now. The ruling All Progressives Congress seems not to be leaving any stone unturned in the quest to win the February presidential elections, with a flag-off of a door-to-door campaign codenamed Gida Gida by APC Northern Women, led by the wife of the vice presidential candidate, Mrs. Nana Shetima. The women believe strongly that the door-to-door campaign is the most strategic method to adopt as the elections date draw closer. Women make up 47.5% of the over 93 million registered voters for the coming elections.
Prominent female politicians of northern extraction in the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, are gathered in this hall in Abuja to flag off a door-to-door campaign for the party's presidential candidate and his running mate. The campaign, which is code-named Gida Gida in Hausa, is expected to mobilize grassroots support for the party.
What we are doing is that there's no any house that you don't have a woman. There is no any street we don't have a woman. Our responsibility is to campaign and make sure we deliver Tinubu Shetima on 25th, inshallah, by God's grace.
Campaigns for the presidential and National Assembly elections began in September last year. And as the day for the campaigns draws near, these women believe strongly that the door-to-door campaign method is the most strategic way to go.
We all know that politics is local, and the method that the Gida group initiated I think that is the best method for us to apply.
The APC Northern women are gathered here today to re-strategize the campaign for Tinubu Shetima in the last few days. The last few days, we call it house-to-house campaign. It's the most strategic, it's the most important, and we have resolved to do all the best we can to ensure victory for Tinubu Shetima ticket.
According to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, there are over 44 million prospective female voters in the 2023 voters register, a figure that represents 47.5% of the 93.4 million registered voters that are expected to participate in the elections in February and March this year.
The election's economic experts are already given some insight into the 2023 economic outlook for Nigeria, and one of them is the regional senior partner and chief executive KPMG Nigeria and West Africa, Tola Adeyemi, who says the next administration must make tough decisions that will reshape the country's economic performance. Mr. Adeyemi was the lead speaker at the Nigerian Economic Outlook 2023 at RCCG King's Court, Victoria Island, Lagos, where he also asked Nigerians to prepare for a year of economic imbalance because of power transition.
Please be seated.
It's the 9th edition of the Nigerian Economic Outlook, an annual event organized by the King's Court, a parish of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. A team of experts in the business field are here to deliberate on the nation's economic outlook in the year 2023. The Director General of the Budget Office of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Mr. Ben Akabweze, who is also the lead pastor of King's Court, prepares the audience for the issues to be discussed.
The purpose of these conversations around the elections is totally non-partisan. The purpose is simply to arm, to equip, Nigerians with, the knowledge that they need to be able to make informed choices in this election.
The opportunities, implications of 2023 macroeconomic landscape and Finance Act is the area of focus for the lead speaker, Tola Adeyemi.
What factors will shape the 2023 macroeconomic environment? I believe that these will be shaped by global and domestic dynamics. The attendant issues around energy, around food, will also continue into 2023, creating inflation responded to with higher interest rates, and we expect to see muted growth.
For him, the issue of security and oil theft must be addressed head-on by the incoming government.
It also means we've got to improve security and thereby encourage the oil companies to invest in the oil sector. The new government that comes in is going to have to be very decisive on the issue of oil subsidy. If they end it by June, then we have a realistic chance of the budget we're looking at.
How bad is it? How bad is the situation? We talk about debt and we're afraid.
Channel's television business anchor Ini John Mekwa moderates a panel session where she engages speakers on GDP to debt ratio, Nigeria's revenue, among other economic issues.
We have projected expenditure of 21.8 trillion naira. In that projection, there is a projection of 8.3 trillion naira as non-debt recurrent expenditure. We are dealing with a food inflation rate of 24%, driven by the fact that the price of tuber cereals and other staples that are produced locally have all jumped up.
I think just focusing on tax all the time is just a lack of creativity. If we're a bit more innovative in this country, we'll find other means to get taxes.
The people and businesses pay so much. Government collects so little because we have created leakages, corruption, wholesale leakages in the middle.
From your interactions with Nigerians, are you confident that this election will be decided by informed voters?
Another Channels TV anchor and National Assembly correspondent, Terry Kumi, moderates the second panel session on citizenship responsibility ahead of this year's general elections.
What I think many people want now is just somebody that will come in and set us on the right path. Let's stop doing the silly things we've been doing for generations. Let's stop funding refineries that never work. Let's not have divergent exchange rates. Let's not be funding our National Television Authority with 7 billion naira every year, of which 6.2 billion out of that is only for salaries.
We focus a lot on the president. They get away literally with a lot of stuff. And so this election cycle, we're voting 28 governors, not 36. And so also because of the noise, a lot of the governorship candidates are below the radar as well. People are not really as engaged. So demanding that government officials behave differently, that they serve you, that they actually work for you, are things that we don't teach, but yet we expect citizens to know that they can demand better.
We need a direction, and that direction starts from first thing. We talk about revenue problem, expenditure problem, debt problem. The biggest problem we have is the trust problem. The people don't trust their leaders. And if I say you increase fuel subsidy, I'm fine to take that, and which is the same point Dr. Abba was making. Are you making your own adjustment on your side?
In just over a month, Nigerians will go to the polls to decide who leads the country in the next 4 years, as they continue to expect a more robust economic performance.
Now to a sad story coming from Ogun State, where 10 people are said to have lost their lives while 2 others sustained injuries in an accident that occurred in the early hours of today around Oniworo on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, while 7 other passengers were unhurt. In a statement, the Federal Road Safety Corps Ogun State sector explained that 2 vehicles were involved in the crash, a Toyota Hiace bus and a Mack container truck. The FRC attributed the cause of the accident to road obstruction by the truck and excessive speed by the driver of the bus, who is said to have lost control of the vehicle and ran into the stationary truck from the rear. The injured victims were taken to the Victory Hospital, Ogiri, for medical attention, while the corpses were deposited at the Para morgue in Ogun State. 3 persons have been reportedly killed in an attack on the country home of a spokesperson of a coalition of United Political Parties CUPP, Kenga Ogochiere, in Umukegu community in Akokwa, Idiato North local government area of Imo State. It was gathered that some gunmen stormed Ogochiere's house, where he was having a meeting with some of his supporters, and started shooting sporadically. In the process, 3 people were said to have been killed, including the CUPP spokesman's uncle, while some vehicles and campaign materials within the premises were set ablaze. When contacted, the spokesman of the Imo State Police Command, Mike Abatem, said he was aware of the incident, but was waiting for proper briefing from the divisional police officer in the area. Well, a part of the Nigeria Police Command headquarters in Kano State has been gutted by fire. Although the inferno has since been put out, the first floor of the administrative block was damaged by the inferno. The incident is suspected to have been triggered by an electrical fault. No lives were lost, and all persons detained in the facility are said to be safe. Meanwhile, in another fire incident, this time in Oyo State, where traders at the Araromi spare parts market woke up to some bad news after some of their shops were razed overnight. The inferno, which reportedly started around 2 a.m., left about 20 shops burned and items worth millions of naira destroyed. Although the Oyo State Fire service says the fire was put out around 5 a.m. Some of the affected shop owners appealed to government for support to make up for their lost sources of income. Well, to health matters now. China's decision to open its borders in spite of increasing cases of COVID-19 infections has prompted several countries to impose precautionary travel requirements on those coming in from China. Well, Nigeria, for one, has announced a tightening of inspections at border points. Our correspondent, Mary Alala Yusuf, reports on the latest development in the battle against COVID-19.
Given the then declining number of cases across Nigeria, COVID-19 restrictions were lifted by degrees, culminating in the suspension in December of 2022 of PCR test requirements for all pre-departures and post-arrivals. China had adopted a zero-COVID policy, but Chinese residents took to the streets in protest late last year when a fire killed 10 people in a high-rise building in the Xinjiang province of China. Many said residents could not escape because of forced lockdowns. President Xi responded by easing lockdowns and doing away with test requirements. The result? Unfettered travel around the world amid soaring COVID-19 numbers in China.
WHO is concerned about the risk to life in China and has reiterated the importance of vaccination, including booster doses to protect against hospitalization, severe disease, and death.
On top of that, South Africa discovered the XBB.1.5, nicknamed Kraken, which scientists say is a milder strain than Omicron, but even more transmissible.
We believe that the fact that the dominant variant of concern in China and in the world remains the Omicron, and that the immunity of South Africans from vaccination and natural immunity is still very strong, this puts us in a better position.
It's a rapidly moving situation. We will continue to evaluate, we'll continue to gather data, and we will continue to review.
Several countries, Nigeria included, had announced measures to safeguard their populations from COVID-19 infections. But how effective can these be when, for instance, Nigeria's precautions include the use of a rapid diagnostic test, which had previously been revealed to have wide margins of error and should therefore not be trusted?
How many labs there are no longer functioning and they're not even checking on the kind of variants that are coming in? Those are the kind of things that we need to do. Everybody must be on the toes. The labs must be working. The borders must be working. And this is a time for us in Nigeria to go back and introduce those things based on prevailing circumstances. And say, now we're going to introduce the testing. If you don't get your test, you don't come in. If you're not vaccinated, fully vaccinated, and all those kind of rules and regulations which have been there before.
NCDC says the new strain has not been found in Nigeria yet, but it is unclear how much testing is taking place and at what levels. Mary Alala Yusuf, Channels Television News.
Well, doctors in Abia State continued their protest in Umuahia, the state capital, over the non-payment of 21 months' salaries owed them by the state government. The doctors marched from the Federal Medical Center Umuahia carrying placards with different inscriptions to drum home their plight, as they said, and they were also joined by other health workers in government parastatals. But they say they will not back down until the arrears are cleared. Also, police in the country, the Minister of Police Affairs, Mr. Mohammed Dingyadi, is lamenting the near absence of what he describes as self-management among some police officers. The minister, who was speaking during the flag off of the zonal sensitization workshop for police officers in Yola, the Adamawa state capital, explains that the recent incident in Lagos, where an alleged drunken policeman killed an innocent Nigerian, is a sad case of lack of self-management. He, however, says the Ministry of Police Affairs is working towards institutionalized service orientation among officers to deepen citizens' trust and confidence.
I have the honor and the privilege.
These officers of the Adamawa State Command of the Nigerian Police are receiving a training on attitudinal change.
Ministry of Police Affairs.
The idea is to ensure effective service delivery as part of police reforms to build a trust gap between the force and citizens.
Well, we apologize for that audio loss in the report. We'll fix that and bring it to you subsequently. Well, to company news now. A young accountant in Lagos, Hussein Garba, has become the latest winner of a 3-bedroom house in Foreland Court Estate 2, Awoyaya, courtesy of Globalcom's Festival of Joy promotion. Mr. Garba, who received the keys at the house presentation ceremony held within the estate, says he was stunned when he received the news.
It's a new year, and Globalcom seems unrelenting in its efforts to put a smile on the faces of loyal subscribers across the country. The telecommunications company is once again presenting house keys to a customer as a reward for participating in the Glow Festival of Joy promotion.
In the past several weeks, we have presented keys to 3-bedroom apartments to various winners in the Glow Festival of Joy promotion in the cities across the country, such as Lagos, Enugu, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and also Ibadan. Today, we are gathered to take the prize presentation to a notch higher with the handing over of the key to a 3-bedroom house to yet another winner.
The special guest at this particular ceremony is the Lagos State Commissioner for Science and Technology, who praises Globalcom for the gesture.
For a corporation to set up a program whereby people will be provided accommodation, this will go a long way in providing the needs for our people. So I take this opportunity to thank Globalcom for this incredible act of generosity.
The winner, an accountant and graduate of Lagos State Polytechnic, will be starting off the new year as a landlord. He says he was shocked when he received the call from Globalcom.
I didn't just get myself because I was not expecting such a good news or a great news from the Globalcom Limited. And actually, I was not believing it until I got here myself.
This is the 3rd house presentation ceremony held by Globalcom in Lagos State.
Well, business news is next on the news at 10 with Anne Oaodo.
Thank you, Kayode. Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin with Nigeria's real gross domestic product growth. It has been forecast to slow down from 3% in 2022 to 2.7% this year. And that's according to latest data coming from the leading data and analytics company, Global Data. According to the London-based firm, the projection is based on factors like sustained decline in oil production, high inflationary pressure, insecurity ahead of the 2023 general elections, which all remain the country's major areas of concern. Meanwhile, Global Data says that introducing measures to reduce poverty, as well as monetary measures to curb rising prices of vitals to help the country's quest for economic recovery. It also adds the federal government needs to work towards policies to control rising gross debts, depreciating currency, and increasing unemployment rate. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has announced the discovery of crude oil in Nasarawa State in Nigeria's north-central region. According to a tweet by the state oil firm, the discovery follows the continuation of its oil exploration activities in the country's inland basins. The latest findings is coming after the NNPC had earlier announced the discovery of the commodity in Bauchi and Gombe State. With the latest oil discovery, Nasarawa State is now expected to join the League of Oil-Producing States in Nigeria. Meanwhile, the NNPC says it is set to start the first drilling of an oil well in a northern state by March this year. It's also taking coordinated steps to further explore in that region as part of measures to shore up the country's oil output and reserves. Nigeria's central bank has directed deposit money banks and other financial institutions to make known beneficial owners of accounts belonging to their customers. In a statement released on its website, the Apex Bank said the development is a fresh measure to address anti-money laundering and combat financing of terrorism and countering proliferation, financing of weapons and mass destruction. According to the financial market regulator, the directive, which takes immediate effect, aims to assist financial institutions in identifying and verifying the beneficial owners of legal persons and legal arrangements in line with extant laws and regulations. Let's head to the domestic stock market now. Bullish sentiment returned. Investors' renewed interest in bellwether stocks on the Nigerian Exchange Limited. The all-share index at the close of the week on listed equities went up by 2.5% week on week, away above the 52,000 points, following bargain hunting activities for high-valued stocks like MTN Nigeria, Dangote, and Boa Cement. At the same time, the market's total value rose by more than 700 billion naira within the week, and that's despite some profit-taking. This attributed to positive sectoral performance across the board. The shares of Thomas Sweat also led a pack of 51 gainers, up by over 52%. Sharams topped 26 other losers, down more than 33%, while 79 equities were unchanged in prices. Meanwhile, FBN Holdings, Sterling Bank, and GTCO's shares were the most significant contributors to a higher volume turnover of 1.28 billion equities traded within the week. Over to the unlisted securities market, where the NASDAQ OTC Exchange Security Index recorded a 1.21% loss for this week. Also, the market's total value fell by 11.45 billion naira to close the week at 927.53 billion naira due to sell pressure by investors. Total value of securities traded during the week also decreased by 52.74%, while the total volume of securities traded rose by more than 2,600% week on week. Meanwhile, Geofluids also is the lone gainer, the most traded security on the NASDAQ OTC market, while Niger Delta Exploration and Production led 4 other decliners this week. Now let's bring you some of the things to expect from Nigeria's financial market for next week. We start with a December inflation report, which is due to be released by the National Bureau of Statistics. That will happen on January the 16th. Investors are already focusing their attention on that data. At the Treasury bills market, traders expect the yields to rise from the current levels amid anticipated lower liquidity in the system. And for the bonds market, the publication of FGN bond issuance calendar for the first quarter of this year is expected next week. It's also expected to influence investor sentiment. At the equities markets, traders are forecasting bullish sentiments. Investors will be taking positions ahead of the 2022 full-year dividend declaration. For the money market, overnight rate is expected to trend slightly upward, as 65.36 billion naira inflow from FGN bond coupon payment may not be enough to saturate the system. And the world's biggest and best-known cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, rose above $20,000 today. That's the first time in over 2 months. Data coming from CoinGecko also shows that cryptocurrency went up 4.6%, and that's about $922, coming from its previous close to $20,853 as at 2 p.m. local time. It has not been this high since early November last year, just before the surprise collapse of FTX. The flagship cryptocurrency price began its surge earlier in the week in anticipation of the release of the U.S. Federal Reserve's December Consumer Price Index report. But since the beginning of this year, Bitcoin's price has risen by 16%, is up 26.4% from the year's low of $16,496. And that's business news for this week, the last one. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawodu. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's back to you, Kaede.
Well, thank you, Anne. The National Union of Agriculture and Allied Employees in Kano State is distancing itself from a case filed against the Minister of Water Resources, Mr. Suleiman Adamu. Well, the chairman of the association, Asani Danladi, made the clarification in Kano State. The workers at the Lower Niger River Basin Development Authority sued the minister alongside the management of the authority for alleged corruption in the agency. According to him, both the national body of the association and the Kano State Council are unaware of this action.
Sometimes in November, we held a meeting in Port Harcourt, River State. There is a case between the branch union of Lower Niger River Basin Development Authority, that's Ilorin. There is some little misunderstanding, which we are trying to resolve it, but I think that what lead to the charging of the Honorable Minister to court, which I feel supposed not to be included. The Honorable Minister is supposed not to be included, actually, because he is at the helm of affairs. No matter what happened, he is the one that will solve it immediately. The case is between the branch executives of the National Union of Agriculture and Allied Employees, Ilorin branch. They are the one that has a problem with their managing director, and we are trying to manage it. It was unfortunate that I heard that the case was taken to court.
And now for the latest sports stories, here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Kaide. Welcome to Sports News. And we're starting from the home front, talking football in the Nigeria Premier Football League. 8-time champions Anambra have defeated their hosts Nasarawa United 2-1 in a thrilling contest at the New Jos Stadium. New signing Elijah Akoni fired home a powerful shot in the 32nd minute to give Anambra the lead. Imo Obot made it 2-0 for the Aba Elephants in the 38th minute after curling a free kick from outside the box. Oche Josiah reduced the deficit for Nasarawa United 3 minutes from time with a header after Ojo Olorunleke denied Ikenalfo from the spot. In England, Chelsea FC have hijacked Arsenal's bid for Mikhailo Mudryk as they reached an agreement with Shakhtar Donetsk. Well, Arsenal had been leading the race for Mudryk, who has been their top transfer target to boost their Premier League title hunt. However, the Blues have stolen a march on their London rivals by flying to Poland to hold showdown talks with Shakhtar Donetsk. And the 6-time Premier League champions have reached a deal with the Ukrainian giants worth €100 million for the 22-year-old. In the English Premier League, Marcus Rashford has kept up his stunning scoring streak to complete an incredible 2-1 comeback victory for Manchester United over rivals Manchester City. Brighton moved above Liverpool in the standings as Solly March's double and a late Danny Welbeck strike condemned Jurgen Klopp's side to a dismal defeat. James Ward-Prowse scored a stunning free kick as Southampton came from behind to beat Everton. Nottingham Forest made it back-to-back wins for the first time this season after Brennan Johnson's second-half double earned victory over Leicester. Wolverhampton Wanderers climbed out of the bottom three with victory over fellow strugglers West Ham United. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola has insisted that Man United's first goal against his side should have been ruled out for an offside by Marcus Rashford, as the England forward was intervening in the move that saw the derby turn on its head. Man City saw their 1-0 lead at Old Trafford overturned when Bruno Fernandes curled home before Rashford netted the winning goal 3 minutes later, but the first goal was clouded in controversy. Guardiola believes Rashford was affecting play by interfering with Manchester City defender Manuel Akanji's defensive run, which would make him offside according to the rule book. Meanwhile, manager Erik ten Hag says Manchester United fans can dream
of a title challenge, but he insists his focus is on continuing to improve his side, despite a memorable 2-1 comeback win in the derby at Old Trafford in the English Premier League. A goal from Bruno Fernandes and England international Marcus Rashford sealed the turnaround, as Man United are now just 1 point behind Man City after extending their winning streak to 9 games in all competitions. And that's sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. It's back to you, Kyle.
Thank you, Ayotunde. Iran has executed British-Iranian dual national Ali Reza Akbari, who had been sentenced to death. The ex-deputy Iranian defense minister was arrested in 2019 and convicted of spying for the UK, which he denied. The Iranian judiciary's official news outlet, Mizan, reported this morning that Ali Reza Akbari had been hanged without specifying the date the execution took place. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak described the execution in a tweet as a callous and cowardly act carried out by a barbaric regime, while the Foreign Minister James Cleverly said the execution will not stand unchallenged. Well, Israeli troops have killed 2 Palestinian gunmen in the occupied West Bank today in what witnesses described as a run-in skirmish touched off by an army raid near a flashpoint town. Witnesses say Israeli troops clashed with gunmen before dawn, wounding 1, and 2 other gunmen drove away with him, unloading him with local residents and continuing in the car, pursued by the troops until they were shot. An army spokesperson adds that troops opened fire on the car after being shot at. There were no Israeli casualties reported, and Palestinian militant group Islamic Jihad has claimed the 2 dead men as its members. One of them was also claimed by Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades, an armed offshoot of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas's Fatah faction. Well, a Russian rocket hit a residential area in the village of Kopiliv in the region just outside Kiev this morning. Well, the rocket attack left a large blast crater and damaged windows and roofs in several privately owned houses in the village, which is about 30 kilometers away from the capital. Air Force spokesperson Yuri Inet said Russia's missiles had likely been fired along a high-looping ballistic trajectory from the north, which would explain why the air raid siren did not sound. And the main news again. The PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar today promised to reactivate the Ajaokuta Steel Company if elected president. He made his pledge during his campaign in Lokoja, Kogi State, his first in the year, and on his return from the United Kingdom, where he also promised to work with the state government to clear workers' salary arrears. Also today, the APGA presidential candidate, Professor Peter Amadi, flagged off his campaign in Awka. At the rally, Governor Chukwuma Soludo appealed to the federal government to release the leader of the proscribed IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, to him to ensure peace returns to the region. And there was outrage and condemnation today as British-Iranian man Ali Reza Akbari was executed following his conviction on spying charges. And that's the news at 10 for tonight, everyone. Thank you for watching. I am Kayode Okikulu. Good night.